everybody, this is part 5 of my 2011 college football Big 12 preview, and today we head to Ames, Iowa to talk about the Iowa State Cyclones. For ISU, I compared their recent play to a Bruce Springsteen song from the 80s. That's one step up, two steps back. A couple years ago, they made a step up. First-year head coach at that time, Paul Rhodes, took Iowa State to a bowl game, and I don't think anybody that year predicted that to happen. They went 7-6 and actually won that bowl game in 2009, beating Minnesota. But last season, this was a two-step back process. For one, they faltered down the stretch despite that year beating Texas and Texas Tech, a couple of upset wins. They ended up still not playing their best ball when they needed to the most, and they ended up out of bowl contention with a 5-7 record. And here's where the second step back comes in. This season, as bad as last year ended, this year as a whole could be worse for the Cyclones because they lose so many talented players, and they also face a very difficult schedule, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But first, let's talk about some of the good for Iowa State, and that is their offensive line, which does return the majority of their starters, and they actually were good as far as blocking when it came to the run. And Kaliki Osemele was a big reason why. Weighing 355 pounds, he could be first or second team all Big 12 at the end of this season. Should have a pretty nice season, and he'll be complemented by other returning starters, including one guard that's Hayworth Hicks and the other tackle that's Braden Burris. And then if you look at the wide receivers, they've got a couple of Darius's back, and no, we're not talking about Hootie and the Blowfish. We're talking about players like Darius Reynolds and Darius Darks, both back for the Cyclones. Those are the returning players, and that's pretty much it for Iowa State. I mean, they lost a lot of players from last season. They got to replace the starting quarterback in Austin Arnaud. They also have to replace the running back, and I thought he was their best player in Alexander Robinson, plus 4 of your 6 wideouts from a year ago have graduated as well. So let's talk about key number 1 to this team, and I think it is who's going to play quarterback. Who's going to replace Arnaud? Will it be a guy who played some last season in Jerome Tiller, who had a touchdown pass, no interceptions, but threw for less than 100 attempts? He really didn't get a lot of playing time and completed less than half of his passes. So that's something to really keep an eye on. And he's going to be challenged, though, by a junior college transfer in the form of Steele Jantz. So I think it's either going to be Jantz or Tiller that gets the signal caller nod for ISU. In the backfield, though, probably not as big of a concern for Iowa State, even though they lose a Dandy and Robinson. Seantrell Johnson got some quality playing time last year, and now he'll occupy that role. And the good news for him, he will be playing in front of an offensive line that can run block. But here's the key. Key number 2, they got to be able to protect the quarterback. Last year, pass blocking was a whole nother story, and they gave up over 30 sacks last season, did ISU. It doesn't matter who's playing quarterback for the Cyclones, whether it's Tiller or Jantz or somebody else, that quarterback is going to need some serious aspirin the following morning to relieve himself from soreness and from all those hits he took if Iowa State's play as far as pass blocking doesn't get better. So watch for that this year for the Cyclones. Not as many concerns on the defensive side, but one concern I want to talk about for key number 3, it's going to be get more aggressive. Last season, Iowa State, for some reason, liked to rush only 4 players, the down 4. And in a pass-happy league like the Big 12, that's a recipe for disaster, especially when you're playing teams that are pass-happy like Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Missouri, A&M, just to name a few, who will torch you if you do not get pressure on the quarterback. I would expect Iowa State this season to be a little more aggressive, use those linebackers, which we'll talk about in a second. They're good at linebackers, by the way, as ISU, to really try to make it easy for the secondary by getting to the quarterback. You just can't have a base 4 try to get to the quarterback and let the 7 players go center field. Big 12 quarterbacks and Big 12 schemes are much too good for that to work. So we'll see if Iowa State can be a little more aggressive. Now, the linebackers. Remember, this is an Iowa State team that returns 9 starters, including Jake Knott and A.J. Klein. I think this is the bread and butter of this entire team because these 2 guys last season combined for over 240 tackles. And I've seen some publications that have Knott as a first-team All-Big 12 player. We'll see if that happens, but he should have a good year, and Klein should too, provided that they can stay healthy. Now the secondary returns 3 players. They do lose a good one in David Sims, the former Oklahoma player who transferred to Iowa State and had a productive career for the Cyclones. He's gone due to graduation. But Leonard Johnson is a speedster. He returns along with Jeremy Reeves as well as Bitten. So this is a team in the secondary that has a lot of experience and some speed, but the front 4 must help them to try to get to the quarterback along with the linebackers. And we're going back to that aggressive part, but Iowa State needs that. Otherwise, Big 12, which is known for passing, and Iowa State is going to have a rough time of it if they can't get QB pressure. Last year they only had 11 sacks. So I'm curious to see how the Iowa State offense does. If the offense can get some production, naturally that means less time for the defense to spend on the field. Otherwise, the defense might be spending 34, 35, 36 minutes on the field per game. That's a recipe for disaster. Now, if you're looking at the schedule for Iowa State, season opener is against Northern Iowa, a team who you beat the last time you played them. You're also going to have to play Iowa. You get them at home. Iowa has some experience issues, but they're still more talented than Iowa State, so that'll be a tough game for the Cyclones to try to pull off an upset. As will playing at defending Big East champion UConn. That won't be easy either. And then the Big 12 schedule, 9 games, 5 of them are on the road. Baylor, Kansas State, and then got to play at Tech, a team you beat last year, but that was in Ames. And by the way, playing at Missouri and at Oklahoma, bye right there. Even some of the home games are going to be tough with Texas, a team you beat last year in Austin, but Texas on paper looks better. And Oklahoma State at home, I don't see how Iowa State could possibly win that game, even though it'll be on a Friday night in front of a primetime national television audience. Realistic goal for Iowa State, I think, is try to finish at least 7th place. That means you beat Kansas at home, which you're expected to do, and then pull off a couple of upsets, which Iowa State's been known for upsets in recent years. Maybe you win at Kansas State. Maybe you can win at Baylor if you can find a way to contain Robert Griffin and try to make Baylor beat you through the air. Maybe that's a possibility of a win in Waco, a place that's not very intimidating whatsoever. So I think if you can win 3 conference games, you can get to that 7th place finish. I don't think a bowl game is realistic for this team because you're going to have to pull off, probably 4 upsets. This Iowa State team, although defensively they'll be better, offensively there's too much talent to replace. I think a game to watch for Iowa State is going to be the one against Baylor. You're taking on a pretty good quarterback in Robert Griffin, but remember, Baylor's defense isn't that good. And also remember, too, that Jay Finley, who had a pretty productive year for the Bears, he's graduated. So if you can find a way, you're not going to be able to stop Robert Griffin, but find a way to contain him and make Baylor beat you in a different way, then maybe that right there could be an avenue toward an upset in Waco. For Iowa State, this is not going to be a bowl season for them, but I think what you have to do is to do what you've done in the past, pull off some upsets, and that right there can build confidence. It's going to be a young Iowa State team in many spots, and I think 2012, when they get 5 of the 9 conference games at home, that'll be beneficial. And maybe in 2012, Paul Rhodes can get Iowa State back in bowl contention, but it's not going to happen this season. That's my look at the Iowa State Cyclones for 2011. My next preview, we'll head to the Little Apple, Manhattan, Kansas, and talk about the K-State Wildcats. Catch you then, everybody.